We can all do hypnosis on ourselves. Hypnosis is natural. You go in and out of trance all day, every day. You cannot stop it because the subconscious mind always wants to be in control, and it is in control. We can have conscious thoughts about things, but the subconscious mind is what makes everything happen. And we can all go in and out of hypnosis. For a therapist to help you go into hypnosis, they're just a facilitator. You are actually doing it yourself. I can't make anybody go into hypnosis. I can only tell people what to listen to and how to feel, and they do it themselves. That's the
Wait,
main thing I want to get across. You are your own therapist.
hey, and welcome back to the podcast. We are here with Joanne Sanders, and Joanne's website is innersolutions.net.au. And she was one of those co-authors with Pat Mesiti. And we are going to be finding out about hypnosis. We're going to find out about what Joanne does and what hypnosis is all about, and more importantly, what it can do for you. So, Joanne, glad to be talking to you.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Super glad to have you. And so when you come across someone in your travels on the street, at a conference, online, and someone says, "What do you do? What makes you stand out? Why are you special?" What's the answer?
I help people overcome their troubles. And if I can get people to help them to heal themselves, a lot of people jump at that chance. Healing yourself is one of the main things that we can all do. We can all do it. And once I explain to them that we all have an inner therapist within us, they just want to know more about it.
And so what's that like, the inner therapist? Because sometimes you hear about with hypnosis that there's all like the mind over matter, and that your mind and your body has a pharmacy in it and can kind of manufacture whatever chemicals you need, and that many times we're our own worst enemy with the inner critic and the negative self-talk. So when you say there's that inner therapist, what is that?
Well, we all have the ability to heal within. You're right. We have our bodies is full of a pharmacy, as you just said. But people aren't consciously aware of that. People think that help comes from out there, but it doesn't. It comes from within. And once they learn and understand that they're able to heal themselves, they need to be trained in to do that, into how to do it. Because as you said, with the inner critic always takes over. But once you actually understand your triggers and you start to be in the present moment and you start to listen to your own thoughts and your own voice, and you start to pick up on all the negative and all the wrong that you're saying to yourself, that's when you start to heal. That's when the inner therapist can come out, because then you can start listening and hearing what you need to do, where you need to go, how you need to heal yourself. But until you actually understand that and be aware of it, the inner therapist just sits silent.
And so this is an interesting idea here, Joanne, because what comes to mind is that when I was younger, and for so many years, I would have all these imaginary conversations. If I was stressed about something, I would just in my head imagine, like, what if this person, what if we talked about this, and they might say this, and this would go on for like hours on end. And I don't know what happened, and things have changed, and I'm still not perfect. But for so many years, I wasn't even aware until now how bad the problem was, and how much I just dragged myself down with the negativity and the repeat thoughts. And so, what is the typical situation like when someone comes to you and then they have these problems? Is it similar to that, or like what's kind of the typical starting point when someone has just a mess of a psyche within them?
Well, it's funny to say that a lot of people come the same problem. We'll just take a smoker, for instance, okay? And I ask, what made you start? And they all say the same thing. It was to fit into their social circle. They're also, and it doesn't matter what age they are. I had a smoker, he was in his 30s and he never smoked until he got divorced. And it was to fit in with the fellas at the local pub. They all smoked. It's exactly the same reason. It's to fit in with your peers. But once you understand that's how you're thinking and how you're feeling, you can actually change that, and you can change it quite simply with hypnosis. And with the hypnosis, if I teach people, I can teach people that it's actually you hypnotize yourself. I'm only the facilitator. We do hypnosis all the time, as you were just saying then, with all these little thoughts and all these little, you know, videos you are having in your head. This person should do that. We all do it and it's all natural. But if you learn to control those thoughts into a positive way and have the positive videos going through your head, that's what the subconscious watches. It watches the videos. It doesn't actually um, listen to words or it's the videos, it's the pictures. The pictures that you produce in your head is what actually gets the subconscious to change its ways. So, and it's funny that people all have the same reasons of why they do things. Once it's pointed out, they can quite easily change that.
So adopting these bad behaviors such as smoking or anything else to fit in, and you're kind of triggering me and making me think about probably around when the teenage years hit, then I express myself a lot less. And when, 13, 14, 15 years old, suddenly I was so afraid of just being made fun of, being ridiculed, being excluded. And it probably took from that age 13 or 14, probably to like 19 or 20 in order to then get back out of it. So it seemed like at least the teenage years for me were kind of crawling into the hole. And then adulthood was then kind of rediscovering, coming back out to like the real person that I was before then, before all the bad stuff piled in. So when we're talking about hypnosis, there's a few ways to think about it, right? We know that the holding the watch and moving it, that's like the cheesy, not true, how it's done in the TV and the movies. But then with hypnosis, you hear about like hypnosis tapes and videos and laying down and closing your eyes or sitting in a chair and visualizing things. So for you, what is hypnosis, and what movies should we be playing in our heads when we visualize what hypnosis is?
Well, the swinging of the watch, it is cheesy, it does work because it's making the person focus. And that's all you need to do is to get the person to focus. And it's usually the focus, as soon as you focus within, here's a good example where you're driving a car and you're going down a long highway and you get to the destination, you go, "Oh, I don't remember passing that servo," or "I don't remember, we should have stopped at that shop, but I don't remember seeing it." You're in a driving trance. So you're automatically doing it because you're off with the pixies in your own head and you're gone within yourself and you're gone within your own thoughts pattern. That is a trance state, and people do it all the time, every day. So you teach people to do that. So what I get them to do, I get them to focus on noises outside the building. I get them to focus on how their body feels in the chair. So it's focused attention. So you're more aware of what's going on. You're not off asleep or um, a lot of people tend to feel that they're under anesthetic or something like that, but it's nothing like that at all. It is total focused attention. So I just get people just to focus within, focus on how their body feels, um, whatever their thoughts are going through their minds. It's quite simple once it's done and they feel it and you can explain it to them. They'll automatically just go into trance. And whatever they've told me in the pre-talk, I feed back to them, but I feed back to them in a positive way. And I teach people that it's normal. I normalize their problems if they're stressed out and they can't sleep at night. That's normal because they're stressed out. So I teach them that their lack of sleep patterns is normal to their condition of being stressed out. So I get them to relax even more. And then when they come out of hypnosis, they can take that feeling, again, a feeling of being relaxed into their awake life. So then they go with it. And 99% of the time it stays with them.
Well, interesting. So if I'm understanding it or I'm recapping you correctly, the secret is to focus. Is when you're driving and you gap out, as they say, when you just suddenly you realize I haven't even been realizing where I've been for the past 5 minutes, but I was awake and conscious and alert. I was driving a car, but just have no memory of getting there. that's kind of the secret, is that we need to focus on different things and like the noises that are outside. And you're saying that the focus then becomes on what are the thoughts, what are the feelings, and what kind of negativity is going through me? Why am I stressed? And then the person feeds it out to you, and then you change it into something positive. And so, could you kind of give an example of that? If someone says some of these things, what are they saying? And then, like, what would you change to feed back to them?
Um, well, if they were to say to me that they're feeling very, very lonely in their life, that's a good one. If they're feeling very lonely in their life, I get them in hypnosis. I get them to think about the times when they're with people, when they're not lonely, when they're actually interacting with people, and more times out of 10, you would they would understand then that, oh, well, I do go to work and I do interact with people at work. When I come home, I can get on the telephone or I talk to people on the telephone, they're interacting. So the loneliness isn't really there. It's just in their own mind that they're feeling lonely. And if they don't do those sorts of things, and I introduce um, exercise for them, so they either go to a gym, they find a walking group or something along, so they're actually interacting with people, or even they're just in a building with people that they're not alone anymore. And exercise is one of the best things to clear the mind. So when you're feeling really down and out, go for a walk, go to a gym. This is the best thing that you can do for yourself. So that's how I would deal with people if they're feeling really lonely and down and out. To teach them that they're not actually lonely and down and out in the big picture. It's only in their own mind that they're down and out and lonely.
Well, great. So what I get from that is that if someone has that feeling, it is a sign, and it is okay that they're feeling that, and maybe that's an indicator that some behavior needs to change. But the negativity and the stress and the awful bad thoughts are not helping. That
No,
maybe if they are somewhat lonely, that's okay. And then a future destination needs to be in not being lonely, and some actions need to be taken. But just being angry or being depressed in order to try to fix that is not helpful for anyone. And it seems like your kind of your approach is to give some perspective and to say, well, it's really not that bad. And if you carefully examine your situation, then you're not really as lonely as you think you are, but things can still be done productively to, number one, improve your mood, but also to physically change something about your situation. That way you're not just living in denial land.
yes, that's correct. Yep, that is correct. So if you change their people's perspective on what actually is happening in their life and give them another avenue. People with anxiety, they're the same that have the same sort of thought pattern as well. They think that everything around them is just falling apart. But when you actually do it in hypnosis and you teach them that things are better and they're not as bad as what they really are, when they come out of hypnosis, they actually have a different thought pattern towards their actual problem. And they take action to actually solve their anxiety, which is it's amazing. It's amazing how your own mind works, and how the subconscious mind controls everything. And once you get that conscious mind out the way and start dealing with the subconscious and changing those habits, I suppose you could call them habits, habits in the way that you think and feel, and you start to change them. It's amazing. It's amazing how you have this totally different out.
Yeah, and that is a place where we all want to get. And you hear about how your existing caveman software of your brain from a million or 2 million years ago, which has not been updated, is kind of not very perfect, right? And it's designed to keep you safe, and it's designed to make you look for danger, right?
Yep,
Because your mind is used to the tiger jumping out of the jungle at you, and so it's
yep,
perfectly reasonable that your brain would be looking for negativity. And then
yep,
there's also that aspect of you are who you surround yourself with. And if you're surrounded by average people, average, coworkers, average family members, they might all kind of be some downers, right? They might
yep,
be kind of uh, angry and frustrated and maybe making you miserable with them. And so, you're mentioning here a lot about how focus and awareness is very important in order to rise above some of these things. And so what is sort of the time frame like for these sorts of things? Is it a matter of one session and it's taken care of? Is it slow and steady, takes several months? Is it something that requires maintenance, and if you don't do it, you'll regress back? What's sort of the time on this?
One session can work with some people, um, but you find that when you do the first session and you get people to come back for a second session, they have aha moments in that because it's a week apart. They have aha moments, and then there's something else that has popped up that has surfaces that they didn't actually realize from the first session. So you get to deal with that. So if you only have one session, you don't get to deal with that. So they walk away with this other problem that they need to deal with. So you're better off to have, I like to do 3 sessions, um, and they can pay for an extra fourth one if need to be. But by the third session, they're usually pretty much on their way. But one thing that I really like to focus on is to teach people how to do it themselves, so they don't need to come to a therapist to deal, because we all have that inner therapist within us to heal ourselves. So I like to be able to teach people how to look for the signs, how to pick up on their focus that they have, their negative focus or their downer, and how to heal themselves. When I came out of my actual depressed state that I was in, I didn't have any therapists. I read a book, and the book resonated with me. And I'd done the exercises in that book, and I became a totally different person after that. My depression was very dark. It was in a very dark place. And when I came out of it, instead of me being the person that was propping up my husband and standing behind him and pushing him forward, I started dragging him with a rope through my life. I said, "This is what's going to happen. We're going to be doing this now. We're going to be doing that now." And that's how I actually got my life back into order. I should have actually stepped out beside my husband and said, "How about we start doing this?" By the time where things were in such a really bad financial situation, I had to take charge. Um, so, and I know how well we can actually change our own minds. So I'm going to teach people how to do their own healing instead of having to go to a therapist to do it, because we are our own therapists. People just don't realize that people in the modern society are always looking for help outside themselves. They're always looking for blame outside themselves. Um, when we actually start taking control of those thoughts, those feelings, and start looking at our own behaviors, our own thought patterns, we can heal quite quickly. Because when you're looking outside yourself for blame, you will never heal, because it's always their fault, it's his fault, it's my childhood's fault, it's this fault. You never heal because it's always blaming. But as soon as you start to take note and start realizing that it's not actually out there, it's how you perceive it, you can heal. You can heal quite magically.
That those are some deep thoughts. There's that tendency of blaming others and saying, "Well, this person from 10 years ago, 20 years ago is the reason I'm unhappy, and the reason I'm unhappy is because of the city I live in and the job I have and the car I drive or the house I have." And it sounds ridiculous even to say. But you and I, Joanne, both know people who are just like in denial and kind of in this prison of their own making. And it is scary to admit the blame, and it does kind of hurt to take that responsibility. But as you're saying, if you don't even take that first step, then you will remain forever blocked and you won't break free. And you'll just kind of stay in this miserable whirlpool of sameness. And it doesn't sound like fun at all. And so it is great that you have this hypnosis training to not only get fixed, but then also become your own inner therapist. That way you can become kind of self-sufficient, self-sustaining in that way. And so if someone says, okay, this hypnosis idea sounds great. It sounds far better than years of therapy, than getting on drugs with side effects or and just being miserable and trying to have the willpower to continue. Hypnosis sounds great. And so where do you come in? Do you do like online? Do you have a physical location? If someone says Joanne Sanders, hypnotherapist, seems like a wonderful person. I need to go and get some of her services. What does that look like and how do they do it?
Right. I could do Zoom. I don't actually have an office anymore. I had one here where I live in the Bay. I closed that down, just wrong location for me. But online, it works perfectly online to do hypnosis online. And a lot of people tend to think that you need to have that physical one-on-one there in the room with you, and you don't. You can do online therapy. I've done a dozen people online, my family and friends. Um, and they've all come out with great results, fantastic results. I just on Zoom. As long as you learn to go within and just listen to what's being said and go along with whatever's being said, it works. It works amazingly. Zoom and the internet, it's just amazing. But on
Like
my website, I actually have a new hypnosis session that I did. And I mainly recorded this one to show people how to do an induction, because lots of people don't understand what an induction is and how to go within. So I started recording it. And then I remember in my training, they said, why waste a good induction? You might as well add something to it. So I added letting go. A lot of people don't know how to let go of all that past hurt or all that past childhood. You can't get a better childhood. It's already happened. You can't go back. So you just let go of it. You start afresh. I don't go back and heal what's happened. What's happened has happened. And the best thing about the past, it's gone and it's over. You start from here and it's all about going forward. So I'm not a therapist that dwells on the past and brings up all that old hurt, because all you're doing is re-embedding the hurt and making it even worse. So it's let go of it, whatever, however you want to. The hypnosis on my website is putting it behind the wall and it can't follow you then. It's there behind the wall. If you ever want to go back and look at it, you can look at it through perspex wall, glass wall. You can look at it, but it can't come with you. From now on, you go forward and you make a new future. The future hasn't happened. You can create it now or going forward. So on my website, it goes for about 9.5 minutes. It's only a short one. And I've had a lot of feedback from that and people are loving it. And that's for free. Help yourself to it. It's in the resources section on my webpage.
incredible. And your passion for your profession is shining through here where and I love these metaphors about how we need to let go and leave the past in the past because it's gone and leave it behind the wall and all these helpful metaphors just to say, okay, great. I'm not going to go back and try to fix something that happened all those years ago. Like it is time for something new. And if someone says this sounds amazing, this sounds like a great starting point, I need to go and check out the resources section and find that induction. What is the website address and how do they find it and how do they contact you as well?
Right. It's my addresses and phone number is there on the website. It's innersolutions.net.au. And it's /resources. There's a whole resource page there. It's got EFT, emotional freedom technique tapping. It's got videos there with your Ortners, how they actually do their tapping, which I absolutely love. Tapping is a form of hypnosis as well, because you're going within your thoughts. And there's two audios on there, and one's a stress release, and it's a butterfly and caterpillar into a butterfly metaphor, which is beautiful as well. And the second one is letting go, and it's just an audio. The letting go ones, as I said, it's about 9.5 minutes. It is so simple and so easy. So that's how you find me, and my contact details and email address and everything. You can there's a contact form on every page that you log into on my website.
Awesome. And to recap that web address, that is innersolutions.net.au/resources to
Yeah.
tap into some of those audios that Joanne is mentioning, because we are living in an amazing time where You can use this thing called the internet to get the answers to any kind of problem that you have, including other techniques that maybe you didn't know enough about or you
Yeah.
ignored. Now you know about hypnotherapy, and now you can jump in with Joanne's help. So I want to make sure, Joanne, that as we wrap up and wind down our conversation, that you say everything that you wanted to say. So just to finalize our discussion here, is there anything that you want to talk about as far as hypnotherapy at the very end here to really just drive the point home and summarize what we've spoken about? Does anything come to mind as far as just some last final thoughts about hypnotherapy?
We can all do hypnosis on ourselves. Hypnosis is natural. You go in and out of trance all day, every day. You cannot stop it because the subconscious mind always wants to be in control, and it is in control. We can have conscious thoughts about things, but the subconscious mind is what makes everything happen. And we can all go in and out of hypnosis. For a therapist to help you go into hypnosis, they're just a facilitator. You are actually doing it yourself. I can't make anybody go into hypnosis. I can only tell people what to listen to and how to feel, and they do it themselves. That's the
Wait,
main thing I want to get across to people, that you are your own therapist.
I love it. You are your own therapist. It is time to take control of your destiny and your future and yourself. And the place to do that is innersolutions.net.au. Joanne Sanders, co author with Pat Mesiti. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.